and welcome to Dragon Talk, the official Dungeons & Dragons podcast. I am here, first, I'm Greg Tito. That's important. Got to get that out.
Greg Tito. In the house.
And I am also here in the house where we make Dungeons & Dragons. Here, Matthew Lillard. Hello, sir.
That's me. I'm here.
You're making things happen. Up and down, all over town.
Not as much as Pelham. Pelham's in the back. Pelham, you may be too handsome, bro. I may need you to leave the room.
There might be some tables might rise.
Your hand. Oh, that's creepy. Keep your hand. If that happens, keep your hands off the table.
I will always keep them up above.
Don't try to restrain the monster.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Ryan.
Before we start, we're rolling. We're gonna roll Anish.
All right, let's see who goes first. Oh, not only a 7. 10.
Yes, but I have +4 dex. So I am at 11, so I attack first.
I'm very dexterous,
Magic missile! There's no need to roll.
You got a natural 20, though.
Is that a crit? I think that is foreshadowing for this podcast.
I shall be slayed.
You're going to start, you have work to do, and I'm just going to sing the highlights.
I like that. I like that a lot. So we're going to throw into some announcements, and then we'll get to...
Announcements!
See, every time. And then we're going to auto-tune it as well to make it like your DJ
I'm
Lillard.
not drunk. I just want you to know. I am so happy to be here. That's why.
That's unconfirmed. We'll figure that out with a roll. Roll a deception check real quick. Oh, natural one.
Natural one. You don't believe me for a second.
Not at all. So Dungeons & Dragons is a lot of crap going on, and I'm going to go through some of it now while Matt sings it. Tomb of Annihilation.
Tomb of Annihilation!
It's out in stores. It's everywhere. You can order it online. We started talking about the stream of Annihilation that you were at.
I was there.
Yeah. That's when it was dropped on all of you, and we've been talking about it for months, and now it's finally in the hands of players and dungeon masters. I can't wait to hear about people.
People have been twitching it out, right? I mean, people are playing and sort of like laying it in the Twitch universe.
Right, exactly. The influencers have been playing it, but now it's time for everyone else to get on board.
For the real man,
exactly.
The man on the street.
The men and women and Wookiees who play Dungeons & Dragons.
Do they review stuff like Annihilation? I mean, will they review the module? Like, who does the reviews?
Yeah, it's
other than players,
right? I mean, I don't think a lot of big press outlets review the books as much. They're more about the experience of it. But then, like smaller blogs or things like that, people will be like, "Oh, this is what I liked. This is what I didn't like. I wish this was highlighted more." That kind of stuff, which is really valuable for us as far as feedback goes.
And how has it been reviewed so far?
It's only actually I haven't read
the 19th, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it released Was it the 19th?
It's right.
Do I have that right?
Yeah, you do. You had that all in your brain.
That's true. You didn't tell me to. I didn't know that. That was just.
I didn't even say it yet,
bro. That's how in touch I am with the D&D universe,
and that's how we know that you're not drunk. That you can recall that immediately.
That's an actual fact. That was correct.
It's true. Reviews have been good. People have been super into it. They liked the idea of the hook of the wasting death curse. Makes a lot of sense for a lot of players because
you're ruining it. I don't know.
They all die at the end.
Oh no!
The ship goes down.
No!
You were a ghost the whole time.
Oh, curses.
Literally curses. But right now we got podcasts of Annihilation that's happening. We talked to a whole bunch of audio play podcasts. We did a video, the stream of Annihilation, but there's this whole other group of folks who do it only in audio form, and they almost create these radio plays through improv. So they'll add sound effects and edit out, the stuff. We're like, oh, what's that spell? They'll edit that all out, so it feels very much like a radio play. It's awesome, and we're highlighting 10 of them this week with the podcast of Annihilation. We had Nerd Poker, so Brian Posehn and his crew from Los Angeles. They did it on Monday along with Taking Initiative. Encounter Roleplay and Dungeon Rats dropped yesterday, which was Tuesday, September 19th. And then today we've got Sneak Attack and Drunks and Dragons. And those are awesome episodes. Venture Maidens, Dragon Drunks happens on Thursday, and D&D is for Nerds, and You Meet in a Tavern is out on Friday. I can't wait. I've been listening to all of these episodes, and they run the gamut from goofy to super funny to really serious and dark, but also a lot of dramatic moments too. I've been really into it. The Sneak Attack one, especially because there was a barbarian who didn't rage for the entire session.
Wow!
All these fights, and he's like, I'm holding it back, and then something happened.
The rage, yes.
And I was listening to it in the car, and I actually got a little bit oh my god, this is such the perfect character dramatic moment to rage when it happened. It's amazing. So I definitely suggest everybody out there checking it out.
You said there's 10 of them dropping this week.
Yeah. 10 new episodes that were all like one-offs,
Sure.
and that people are going to, they might continue with that group or something like that.
Now, is this something that is happening in the world naturally, or do you guys sort of like create that opportunity here at D&D?
No, we created that opportunity, and actually, Josh Peralt from Taking Initiative, who was called into this podcast on Monday, it was his idea. He actually pitched me, and I was like, "That's perfect. We're totally going to do that." And so he recruited a bunch of folks. I recruited a bunch of folks, and then we're just highlighting them. And hopefully they'll get some fans, and we've got the buzz about what's happening with Tomb of Annihilation out there and spreading out into the universe.
Good.
Yeah, putting it out there. Dragon Plus is out now. We're on issue 15. Bart Carroll, who was just in here talking about how his son met you at Stream of Annihilation.
Was it a good? It was a good
moment. It was a good.
Those sometimes go bad.
You never know with
that's
kids.
Not true. Actually, that's not true.
Well, with the young kids, you never know. You're like, they could just cry. They don't know. They're overwhelmed.
Sweet. Like I like kids, and like I think that. Look, I understand that I have a weird job and I have a weird character that I've played in my life. I'm sure we're going to talk about it at some point during this, but so when those moments come up, I just anywhere at any time if it's a kid, they'll get full attention.
Nice.
Now, if you're the drunk dude at the bar down the street who's like, "Hey, Shaggy," that dude will be ignored quickly. Do you miss Dragon Magazine?
I do, right?
Like I miss the actual physical thing.
Yeah, but so much of our world is, you get stuff in a different way now. Speaking of kids, I just was at a night in West Seattle, and they're talking about curriculum night for what my first grader is going to go through, and there's no more paper homework. They're going to be all online and submit their homework online. But at the same time, I'm like, in 20 years, when these kids are professionals, it's not like they're going to be like, "Here's my TPS report that I printed out for you and signed." Like everything's going to be digital. So,
yeah, but I it's funny. We have we're up. I'm up here for a very specific reason that we can tease,
which you'll find out a little bit later on.
But I believe that the world will start to careen back to analog in some stuff.
Well, when society breaks down.
Yeah, when society breaks down. When the world, Armageddon is on our doorstep.
We see it every day.
No, but I do think that there's something about writing something out on a piece of paper that is a different process intellectually that sort of fills you in a different way than typing something on your iPad and pushing send. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's something about that process that...
Yeah.
Deep thoughts with Matthew Lillard.
I agree, but then I also looked. As far as utopias of society go, Star Trek: Next Generation is one of like my go-to.
Oh.
When did you ever see a physical piece of paper in Star Trek?
Well, it's not good television. That doesn't mean that Captain Picard didn't actually.
Yeah, but they all had data pads. They all had like things like this that they were like, "Hey, this is our thing that we brought from thing to thing."
Yeah, okay, fair enough. You're right. This wins the debate because Captain Picard never ever wrote anything down. No, I agree. Look, I agree.
Yeah, it could go either way. I think that, but there's,
but like my kids. Here's my thing. So my kids she's a brilliant little artist.
Yeah,
and she draws on that drawing pad all the time. And like I look at it, and it doesn't have the same. Like you're in front of a computer. Mm-hmm. You're basking in that horrid glow of a laptop, and you're like, I want you to paint. I want you to draw. I don't know. There's something about it that I long for coming back to this sort of analog world. And look, maybe it's just nostalgia, but I do think there's something in that. That's all.
I do too.
We are way too deep. You were talking about good stuff, and I got us off track.
No, dude, that's what this podcast is all about.
Just
I love
meandering, random thoughts of nothingness.
My boss, Nathan Stewart, is like, "You guys don't actually talk about Dungeons and Dragons on this podcast, do you?" And I'm like, well, that's
sometimes.
Fair. That's fair. Well, and I like to present it as like you're a well-rounded person. You can love games and love Dungeons and Dragons,
but not that well-rounded.
You're like, all I think about is D&D.
All I want to talk about is analog world.
Nice. But I agree with you too. We'll get to that off mic. But that being said, Dragon Plus is available on all your digital devices. Maybe we'll have maybe that's something we should talk about. I have a physical thing. But Betrayal at Baldur's Gate is what we're talking about. It's a physical board game. You can explore the world of Baldur's Gate, the city of Baldur's Gate, using tiles and some of the mechanics behind Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is a fantastic way to get into Dungeons and Dragons.
Mashup.
Yeah.
Mashup.
It's a mashup.
That's what the kids call it these days, a mashup.
I hadn't really considered, but that is exactly what it is. We should get Girl Talk to do the soundtrack for Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. I'm loving it. This is good stuff.
I don't know what that means, but yes, we
Oh,
should.
I think that's a guy that does mashups. Like that's his thing.
Yes,
Right.
yeah. I just know the words.
Okay.
I don't know the actual.
You're not.
I'm not that. I am. We go back to. I'm not that diverse.
You're an analog.
I'm only.
You're a single analog friendly person. Extra Life is coming up. It's on November 3rd is when we're kicking it off. It is where we play Dungeons and Dragons for 24 hours. Well, it's going to be 12 hours this year. In
Coward
Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin. Rudy and Satine Phoenix will be leading that, as well as members of the Dungeons and Dragons team. And then on November 4th, I'll be hosting it. Probably a lot of it from this room. We'll be playing all that day, and it all is to raise money for kids for Seattle Children's Hospital. You'll be able to donate to as we're making characters. You'll be able to donate to say which character or race or combination or background or even like concept that you want to throw at us. There's money associated with that, and all of that will go to the Seattle Children's Hospital. And then as we get up to all the thresholds of all the money that we're making, we're going to have previews of Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which is coming out in November. So that'll be your first way to get in touch with all that new subclasses.
Why don't you include me in these things?
I want to. You want to be involved?
Of course. No, I want to say no to the Children's Hospital.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be streaming. So yeah, just you know what? Actually, I do have to talk to you about possibly a studio down in LA that you might just be able to come in and play. And
I'll be in Atlanta, but that's all right.
On November 4th.
Yeah, until February.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe we can make it work.
Yeah, but I'm in.
Next year, we want to involve like this. We're kind of like rushing on planning on this one, but like next year, we want to go all in and get a lot of people that were in the Stream of Annihilation and other folks to be able to do this. But you can always raise.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, make me play like a Era Kokra or something like that. Make it happen.
I would never do that to anyone.
So yeah, there's more information about that coming up on our Extra Life page. Pelham is awesome, and he's going to try and drop a link here into.
He's so beautiful, Pelham. You're such a. I mean, I just can't take my eyes off of you.
Can't take my eyes off of you. The PAX West live show did really well. Holly Conrad from the Waffle crew joined the Actresses Incorporated crew on stage at the Benno Royal Hall here during PAX. It's awesome. You should go check it out. It's on twitch.tv/PAX. And there's also a YouTube video up on that. And Dice Camera Action just started last night. So season 3, they're running through all of the Tomb of Annihilation stuff now. Anna, Jared, and Nate were all on board, as well as Danny Hartel as a special guest star as Zandala. And I only got to watch like the first half of it, but my favorite part was when her pseudo dragon ate another party member's pet mouse. Kind of. Not surreptitiously. It just kind of happened, and Chris Perkins was like, "Yep, no, the pseudo dragon eats your pet," and everybody was crestfallen. So yeah, it was super fun, and I'm excited for them to start playing weekly at 4 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays. The Dungeon Master Screen Reincarnated is out. Do you know about this?
No.
Actually, you guys played with it a little bit at the Stream of Annihilation, but it's a new Dungeon Master screen that's got the art of a red dragon kind of in flight.
Oh, I did see the dragon. The dragon's incredible.
It's good stuff. It's painted by Tyler Jacobson.
And Tyler was at the thing. I was like, you did that? I kind of fanboyed on him.
He's pretty cool.
He's pretty awesome.
I can't believe that this stuff just comes out of him, and it's like remarkable. These iconic images.
So what's on the back of the screen?
It's all of the stuff you need to run 5th edition.
So it's just 5th edition charts and
yep, and like if you're traveling, know that kind of thing, overland things. It's updated and changed. So we had one that came out with 2014 that had like backgrounds and things on it that are less important when you're actually playing.
It made no sense.
Right. So we took feedback from Dungeon Masters over the last 3 years, and now it's all stuff that you need going forward. Right.
Yeah.
Super cool stuff. So that's out, and as well as the Tomb of Annihilation dice are out now. It's a dice tin.
Didn't know that.
That has these this green devil face on it, and it has awesome like opaque green dice that you can't really find anywhere else. It's good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, but even the tin itself is pretty cool to keep your dice.
If I only knew people at Dungeons and Dragons, I could score some free green dice.
I wonder where you might be able to get those.
And
5. That's not very good. Is your diplomacy really high?
You know why?
Is your charisma high?
These dice are completely jacked.
You just got an 18.
That's because I threw it away.
Oh, that's your throwaway dice. Yeah. Got it. All right. Yeah, we might be able to get some for you. Actually, I should be having them here so that you can see them, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wearing this thing for Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. It is out now in early access on Steam. You can send characters out on adventures. They collect, they kill monsters, they collect loot, they get it all, but it all happens in real time. So you can kind of set them up, and then they just do their thing, and then you spend like 5 minutes, you set it all up, and then you walk away, and you come back, and then you see all the gold and stuff that they've collected over time. So it's one of those idle games that you can spend a little bit of time here and there, perhaps when you're at work or at school, do a little quick check-in.
No, not at school.
Not at school.
I
meant like college.
Yeah,
college.
First graders like, I need to get Wand of Improved Invisibility.
We've been talking to a lot of teachers who use Dungeons and Dragons in the classroom.
Why?
Yeah.
What school is that? I will go back to school.
It's this guy, Cade Wells in Houston, and inner city schools in Houston. He's basically creates this whole curriculum around it. It's really interesting, yeah. And they create character in like the beginning of the school year, and they get like rewards if they do really good thing. They get like equipment. If they do bad, they can take away gold pieces, things like that. And it becomes this character management tool. And he's like you. He's like, kids don't read. They don't open books anymore. And he had like.
Are you saying that I don't open books?
No. No, it's what you said about like the physical analog thing. Like people aren't doing that.
Okay. I am dumb. But that's a little far.
That was under the belt.
I will say, my wife will tell you that I can't walk into a bookstore without buying a book, but I don't read one of them. They all stack up next to my bed. I literally have a stack of books that are like, I want to read them all, but I just do other things instead of the reading.
Like not even like on set or something like that? There's so much downtime.
Look, when you're away and on set, I read a book all the time, and I'm actually going to work for a long time. I'm doing this show for NBC that's coming out in this fall called The Good Girls. And
nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. We just did the first reading of the first 2 episodes yesterday. I'm really excited.
Cool.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great character, great cast. NBC's really excited about it, so it's good. Touch
Sweet.
wood.
You went like right into like a Hollywood mode there for a second.
No, but it's so. Look, in our lives, sometimes you have a job, and sometimes you're feeding your kids, and sometimes you're not.
Right.
So right now, I've got a job, and and that's the thing is when you go to work, you have that opportunity, downtime, and you read a book.
Yeah,
that's nice.
I like that because it's and we talked to Deborah Ann Wall from
she was great.
She was awesome,
she was
right?
really, really lovely.
Yeah.
I listened to your podcast. I really like it.
Oh, cool. Thanks,
yeah.
man. But yeah, she was saying how she was making characters with Charlie Cox on the set of Daredevil. Just like as part of the downtime. I'm like, oh god, that's such a great way to awesome. Roll some dice, make some characters, do some stuff in on D&D Beyond, making a character on there.
Not everyone.
Not everyone is on board.
There's just not a lot of. Our city, our town, our group of actors. Look, there are some people in our business that are celebrities, and there's some people that are actors. And she was talking a lot about her theater history and she's like an actor.
Yeah.
And something about spending time around a table, something about spending time in fellowship, hanging out with other people, that joy that you get from doing theater is the same sort of thing you get when playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, yeah. And even, it's almost like improv comedy too in a way because you're all making it at the same time together,
or improv
right?
drama. It's both. And that's the thing. It vacillates between the two really easily.
For sure.
You're still on announcements?
I know, dude. I was just about
I just left you alone. People would have tuned out 20 minutes ago.
I'm thinking about putting it away. I'm putting it away.
What else do you need to tell the people? What is so important?
There's so much important stuff that's going on.
But people are only going to grab what. Are you sure? I don't want to really.
No, I actually was literally going like, I think I'm going to skip these and get right to the segment.
Guys, things are happening in D&D. Either get in or get out.
That's right. You can always find it on Wizards_D&D for our Twitter feed as well as DungeonsandDragons.com. You'll get all the stuff I would have talked about.
They're racing to get that information right now.
They totally are.
I can't wait.
All right. Well, speaking of information.
Don't you look at me. Don't you look at me, you handsome bastard.
I'm going to throw it to a segment right now. We're going to learn some information about lore and or some sage advice from Jeremy Crawford. So we'll throw that to that right now, and then we'll get back and get to the real meat of everything that we wanted to talk about.
Let's get down, dude.
Let's do it. All right. I'm taking off my pants.
What? God, no!
Quick break. But yeah, then we'll just go right in it. Yeah.
He talks a lot. He talks a lot.
All right, we are back.
We are back. That was good.
Did you hear all that stuff?
You know what that is?
What?
Light as air.
It is. It is. You can
light as air.
Light as a feather. You just keep going. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about when you started playing Dungeons and Dragons,
Sure.
because a lot of people hear about like, oh, Vin Diesel plays blah blah blah, and this person plays.
I
and that
asked
person.
him.
Did you really?
Yeah. I was at the premiere of Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I went up to him. I'm like, I have to ask you. He's like, what? I was like, I game. I was like, do you really play D&D? He's like, yeah. And I think he was avoiding it because I play, I went down my whole thing, and I was running a paladin at the time, and we were doing Age of Worms, and we were champions of Heronius, and I was, Vachon Daumier. And I was like, oh, so you're real. So then we engaged. Like you sort of had to get through that firewall of like protection.
Was this a challenge, or was this actually someone who wanted to?
He thought I was mocking or trying to find a way to talk to him. Or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was It was good. He was a good guy.
That's cool.
Yeah, solid dude.
That's really awesome. Age of Worms was my actual first long campaign that I ever played, like back in like.
By the way, Dragon Magazine.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
I mean, we pulled out a dragon, but I don't.
Yeah.
Was it released in other ways?
No. It was episodic.
It was awesome.
Yeah, every time, and that was I played that campaign for like 2.5 years in New York City, and that was like, that was my first time where I felt like I got what Dungeons and Dragons was.
So was that when you were young or when you were older?
I was older. I was already married. I was living in New York, and I had like a Catholic background, so it was hard for me to meet people that played, number one. And then number two, if I did, my mom was like, no, that's not a good idea.
Well,
yeah, right. And so it was, I went into the theater and did all that stuff. And then I was living in New York. I got married, and we were doing all the theater things. And then I was like, wait a second, there's nothing stopping me.
I'm an adult, yeah.
Exactly. And so
God actually doesn't care if you play.
he actually might like it.
Yeah, he likes it.
Yeah, because you get to play as him. It's kind of cool. So when did you start
playing? What was
playing?
the first character? I'll talk about me in a second. It's not nearly as interesting. What was the first character you played?
The first full character that I played was Todd Hedron. He was a half elf.
Todd? You named a D&D character Todd?
Todd,
yeah. A half elf named Todd?
Yeah, and
my God! That has got to be against the rule of some kind.
But they called him Toad. He was
Toad makes sense. Todd is terrible.
He had this, he was a half elf, so he had like a little bit of the eyes that were larger and like a little bit of pointed ears.
I know what a half elf looks like. Yes, I mean,
I'm going to draw a picture of it just so you make sure
that
is
a half elf named Todd.
Right. Yeah, well, that's what he was. Well, he was Todd Hedron is a fantasy-ish name. Isn't that good enough?
Not even close. That is terrible.
All right. Well, then he was an urchin. He basically was like everybody hated him in town, and his mother was I think she was a whore, and his father was an elf that like just estranged and did everything. And then we played that entire Age of Worms
and what
campaign.
Was he?
He was a ranger.
A ranger.
Yeah. It was a little bit Tanis half elven, from the Dragonlance.
Okay.
Definitely, that was my my into those stories.
Oh, that's good.
I loved him.
Todd.
Yeah, but then he meets his mom, and like I think she betrays him through the course of the campaign. The DM was really good about
that's good.
Taking a few threads that I didn't even really consider too much, and then blowing them out into this awesome thing. Yeah.
So I started playing as a kid with David Larson down the street. David Larson, if you're listening, big shout out to you,
David.
David Larson, Adam Harrison, Brett Bird. It was like a group of us as kids, and we sort of found it. We were kind of into riding our bikes down, buying a lead figure, coming back, painting it. That week we would run the dwarf, or that week we would, the next week we would run the paladin, the guy with the big shield. Like, you would sort of go on these tangents, and then at some point, and we'd play that all summer. Like we'd play football, and then we'd play D&D, and then we'd make movies. We'd make these like Super 8 movies.
Oh, no way, cool.
And I've got to get those movies for all, you're making war movies on Super 8. It was awesome.
And do you still have the reels? Like, you still have them?
I mean, he has them, and he contacted me years ago, and we lost touch, and I should find the Facebook.
He's on there right now. He's watching.
He's a Facebook friend of mine.
Yeah, let's get in touch. I want to see those.
But he would shoot these movies. He was this like really kind of amazing kid. And we'd shoot these movies, and we'd call all the parents from the neighborhood would come down and watch it, and it was awesome. Like we had skate parties in the backyard. It was very strange.
Skate or die, man. That's cool. But then you were playing D&D with them at the same time?
Dungeons & Dragons, and he was a great DM. And then we played all the way up until like 7th grade. He was a year older than me. So at 7th and 8th grade, we sort of like, even though we were in the same neighborhood, he went a different way. And then I stopped playing. And then When I was in acting school in New York, one day after a Super Bowl, my roommate at the time had like his D&D books. His name's Johnny, and Johnny had played D&D since he was 4, and he played, when we all stopped, he just kept playing, him and his brothers.
Wait, since he was 4 he was playing?
Yeah, he was like, he had older brothers, so he played early, like crazy. I mean, he was like, he's a D&D savant.
Right, that's cool.
And so he played all the way through high school, all the way through college. And then I said, after the Super Bowl one day, I was like, we should play D&D with these, 4 of my best friends. And that was in 1991, and we still play today, same group of guys.
No way.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's
so
awesome.
That's what, 37 years, 27 years?
27, 26.
26
years.
years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or 27.
You're like more, marriages don't last that long.
No, and we're the same group. So all of us migrated to California except for Paul, who's still in New York, and he plays on Skype.
Oh, cool.
It's like when you get dinner, you get pizza delivered. He's like, "What are you guys ordering?" And like the hour is completely knocked out. It's like from like 10 to 11 o'clock his time. So we'll play, and he'll like stay up to like 3, 4 in the morning.
Oh, that's
to play
super
D&D.
cool.
It's super stupid. He should just move to California,
right?
And you play D&D with us.
Yeah.
And then we added Abraham Ben-Ruby, who's one of my best friends in the world.
Yeah.
An amazing guy.
He was great. He was at Stream of Annihilation
he's
too, and
great.
he had so much fun. You could just see it. It's like he loved it.
He's a funny story. So we were doing Without a Paddle. He plays the bad guy in Without a Paddle, and we were in New Zealand at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, at some point it always comes up that I game, and I'm a person that likes to tell everyone in the world I'm a gamer. I believe in like owning the colors that you are, and I love the fact that I'm a gamer, and I love everything about the game. So I'm foot forward and proud. And so at some point he figured out that I was a gamer. He's like, I want to game with you. I want to game with you. And a lot of times in this world, in everywhere you go, people are like, I want to game. And you're like, yeah, sure you do. And it really takes a lot to sort of get through that barrier, because when I game, it's my favorite thing in the world to do.
Right.
I really don't want somebody that doesn't understand, and this is really exclusive of me, but I don't necessarily want to share my game with somebody that's kind of wants to game.
Right.
It's a waste of my game. And again, that's my special time. And you're kind of acting like you kind of want to play, or it's a passing fancy.
Well,
or
it's got to be hard for you to determine whether or not they actually really want a game, or if they just want to be friends with you.
Well, not that so much. Like, everyone wants to be friends with me. That's so obvious. I mean, who doesn't? But like that guy who's like, oh, I'll check it out. Like, I'm not interested in spending the time with somebody checking it out. I want to play.
Yeah.
And
especially with you guys have been playing together for so long, you've got like
all
and
you're like, if you're
roles
bring it
figured out.
into your thing, and so anyway,
it's a sacred thing.
So Abraham's like, I want to play. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And so we were. This is I'll never forget it. So the last Lord of the Rings movie,
Return of the King,
was screening for the first time ever. The world premiere was in New Zealand.
Yeah.
In Wellington, which is where Peter Jackson shot the trilogy, and Weta's down there. And so what they did is that they bought out all the theaters in Wellington and invited the city. Grew, it was like, a city of like 500,000 or something ridiculous, or 700,000. It grew to like 1 million people for this weekend. It was a big deal, and they screened it. And he completely restored like a 1920s theater and like full Dolby and like huge seats, and like he restored it. And the very first screening they ever had was of Return of the King, or this movie.
Yeah, the last one. Return of the King.
Yeah. And like they had a parade, like our production had shut down because everyone, like, they had an elven army, and they had a Nazgul on the side of a building, and these huge rings the sides of like whole things, and like it was amazing, and like tens of thousands of people were lining the street, and they had full like orc army like riding in, and people would boo. It was crazy. I've never experienced anything like it. And so I was sitting the seat behind Peter Jackson.
No way.
So because we had like reached out, and our crew was there, and our producers, so we got these seats, and like it's Peter Jackson and Sean Astin, like everyone's sort of lined up, and Abraham and I sit next to each other, and like other people, like everyone knew that we got like the 2 special seats for our production because we were like excited to be there beyond anything.
Yeah.
And Abraham sat next to me at the end of the movie. I looked over, and he had tears rolling down his eyes. I was like, "You can play D&D with me, man. You're in."
That's all you need to do.
Right. I was like, dude, you're gonna play. And he's, now he's been in the game for whatever, 10, 12 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
I still watch.
watch.
Was that Pelham? Was that all right? That story is too long. Was it too long?
No, it's good stuff.
It was real emotional at the end. Did you cry? Did you find yourself moved?
Yep, I did.
I cried when I watched those movies. Like now, like
Dude,
I've
those
seen them like
movies.
so many times.
Yeah.
I still will throw them on, and especially that thing when they all kneel in Minas Tirith at the end. It's like oh god,
It's too
the
long.
hobbits.
The end was too long. The ending was too long. Too many false endings. Too long.
Well, that's in the book. I mean, that's part of the
Yeah,
thing
but-
of it, right?
And then you have the tragedy of the Hobbit.
Yeah.
The video game made movie.
I know. And I thought they had so much great potential, and then I still haven't even seen.
By the way, how
the
about
last
just
one.
make one movie?
Yeah.
How about just instead of like stretching it out and abusing what you have, or at max make it two?
Right.
Right.
It
Eagles take off. Okay, you're good.
Right.
Go on to the second one.
Yeah. I still haven't even seen the last one.
Yeah, because it's gross. And a guy that you believe holds that space sacred.
Yeah.
And Peter Jackson.
Right.
Just really, in my opinion.
Well,
By the way, I've just completely destroyed any chance
of
of ever being a Peter Jackson.
I'm sure he's heard it before. But the part that was cool, and then it made me feel like I loved Dungeons and Dragons even more, was when the White Council attacked Dol Guldur. Seeing these like
big, yeah.
like the superhero team of
Expansive,
Gandalf
yeah.
and
That was
Elrond and Galadriel and
You are a
Celeborn.
geek, dude. You are fun.
Oh, dude,
nerd.
I-
You know all those names.
Well, I didn't get to play Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid, but I could read like crazy. I could read whatever, well, that's not always
have
true.
I told you about all my books? I have lots of books.
Yeah?
Don't read one of them.
I have a bookshelf, and I used to say I read all those books, but now there's a few on there that I bought that I haven't actually gotten to yet.
Books.
Yeah.
Look, the smog.
Yeah.
And
Reveal.
that was awesome. Like that, this expansiveness was really sort of.
I still think the
remarkable.
visuals, will always be, even though I read them, for years and years before I ever saw Peter Jackson's adaptations of them. But like those are the images that are cemented.
Which images? The ones that
like what Gandalf looks like, what
Sure.
Frodo
but
looks like.
I have that. The record. Do you remember the record that they had
Yeah.
of the Hobbit?
Yeah.
And like all the pictures that went with it.
Right.
That was awesome.
Well, because they got that guy. I forget his name, but like he did the design for the movies. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Same thing. So
Right.
that's what I see. We had it was actually cool. They have the reading. They have like an 8 or 7 album set of the reading of The Hobbit. That when my kids were really young, like on like every Sunday for like weeks on end, we'd gather around in the living room, and we had this old record player, and I'd put the record on, and we'd listen to one side of the album.
Neat.
And like my whole family would sit there and listen to this record, and the following week you'd follow up on the set, on side 2, and it was awesome.
That is cool.
It's awesome.
Now you've said you play D&D with your kids. What's that like?
So we we started playing together, oh boy, like 4 years now. I think it was 4 years ago. And I ran this little campaign. And
How old were they at the time?
well, no, that's not right. It had to be 2 or 3 years ago. It's a trick question because they always change the dates. They always get older.
It's true.
No matter how much you don't want
You try
them
to remember, but it
15, 13, and 9. Yes.
nailed it. Good
13,
dad.
yeah. 13 turns 13 this 2 weeks.
So that's cool. My girls are 6 and 4, and I'm like at that. I mean, I say this all the time. Like I'm at that verge of like, God, I gotta introduce them, but I don't want to do it too early. You know, so that they get like a.
We started on Magic, so we would start playing
that makes
Magic,
sense.
and that was like kind of like engagement game, and we loved it.
Yeah. We've been playing Sushi Go. Did you ever play that game?
No.
It's like you're making like a sushi meal in cards, and my girls love it because they're like cute little.
What
like,
spells do you get to cast?
You can cast wasabi, and then you cast
burning eyes.
there you go.
Yeah, so we started playing, and it's this great little look. We went away on a family vacation. All our family vacations, we bring our books.
Yeah.
And
All the books you haven't read, you bring them all.
No, we bring the actual. I'll bring my DM's guide and player's guide, and
Nice.
then we'll, they'll pack their characters and their dice, and we were on a train last year from Montana to Seattle, and we played on the train, and
Nice.
they love it, and it's
playing
this
on the
great
train,
thing.
that's gotta be
It was
fun.
cool. It was really cool. It's hard
Yeah.
to roll a dice, but other than that, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And 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 we introduced like our dear friends, the Philippones, which I'm sure they'll find this because they love they've watched the Twitch of stream of Annihilation like multiple times.
Nice.
But they are there's 3 boys and 2 of the 3 love the game. And so we'll go on family vacation together and we'll all sort of, we'll go up to a house and the kids will all play. And I introduced them to the game. And now, because they wanted to play more and more and more, and as they're getting older, they finally found out that they can run the game themselves. And it started with like the 13-year-old who started to run, and now the 15-year-olds are running it. So now there's like multiple games. And like not but 2 weeks ago, I dropped my kids off at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And they played till 6. And me and my wife and I went over at 6 to pick them up and we have dinner.
Yeah.
And they had dinner fast, and they kept playing afterwards.
Nice.
So you've got these kids sort of broken in this, in this day. They're broken from, watching TV or from playing video games. They're all together. They're telling a group story. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. If you're listening to this podcast, you understand the sort of power of the game. But these kids love it. And the exposing them to the power of your imagination and the idea of like doing something. They kind of went through the thing like, we all want to play these bad characters. I'm like, okay. We'll play bad characters. What do you want to do? You want to kill things? Okay. It's not that fun. It's like I don't know. It's been a really powerful thing for them. And
yeah, and it's like a safe area where they can test out who they are, what they do.
Yeah.
Especially at that like kind of teenage years, you don't get a lot of that, right? You don't get a lot of like able to do bad things and not be getting in trouble for it, right? So like you can do some of those things and exercise those things that don't feel.
But playing the bad guys, they were like. They realized quickly that playing the bad guy actually wasn't that fun.
Yeah.
That you're not building towards anything. That you're not trying to, that
right. But
it wasn't as rewarding.
Where can you get that lesson anywhere else? Is what I'm trying to say.
Yes,
right?
exactly. And the idea is like they at some point, and I keep trying to explain it to my youngest. My 9-year-old loves video games, and I'm like, look, I'll play Overwatch with you. I love it. Yeah. Let's play. And at the end of an Overwatch session, I'll be like. Or he'll get like his loot box. Yeah. And I was like, that's awesome. But how do you feel now? Do we just play for an hour? Does it like, where are you at? What does it give you? You know what I mean? And you try to like, I'm not judging the moment. I love video games. I play FIFA soccer like all the time. I like playing video games more than I like watching television.
We have to play a match then.
Oh,
dude!
I have to bring it.
My buddy in Brooklyn.
Anywhere.
I never played that much, but he always had those games, and I would go to his house, and we would just like scream and yell at each other for what we did.
It's competition. Yeah. So for me to be in competition is way more fun than sitting there watching things that I do all the time.
Nice.
But yeah, so we're a big gaming family, and I love it. I love teaching. In fact, we were talking about stream. Yeah. I was like, let's bring kids in. Let's teach the kids how to play D&D on stream. Yeah. So
that'd be super fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, what if we did a Twitch channel with kids, like did their campaign, like a Matt Mercer, like what if they, so that you see kids as an example for other kids to play.
I wish. I mean, there's something about having the adult be the DM and making that happen, but I also really want to get like kid DMs, right?
Of course.
Like feel like like those friends you were talking about, like I can do these stories and make them up too, and like that's a huge leap in
100%. And you see a kid because look. I think one of the things that Mike said during stream, which I thought was really incredible, which is there is no right way and wrong way to do D&D. Yeah. Anyone can DM. It's about story. If you want to bend the rules, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It really doesn't matter. And I think that's powerful. For a kid to see another kid DM would be awesome.
Yeah, it's aspirational. Especially if it's like a teenager.
And it also breaks down the barrier for entry for a kid to play. Mm-hmm. But it's funny because when they first started to play, you're level 3, you're level 4, they're leveling up really fast. They're getting all these magic items, and you're like, oh, yeah. That's like the first iteration. That the joy is actually the loot. Well, it's actually the journey and the story and the
right. And that's a growth thing too. I mean, it's same like as like you go from kids books to YA to more in depth books, and I feel like D&D kind of has that same thing.
They're all on the side of my table. That's okay.
They're all.
That's a callback. That's a callback.
Tell them.
That's a callback.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
God.
Yeah.
Do you put like mink oil on that thing? It's just so shiny and.
That beard
Pacific Northwest
puts mine to shame. I'm starting to grow one now, and I'm like, man, it's going to take me like years to get to the Gandalf beard that he's got going
virgin. Just laced, just lather.
Do you know how expensive that is?
Yes, I do.
It's like 400 gold pieces.
Oh, do I?
Nice. So yeah, I think having that kind of stream would be awesome. You want to start it up down in LA? We can make it happen.
We are thinking about doing some stuff like that.
Because I remember when I first talked to you, you were a little bit like, "What's this streaming thing? How does it work?"
I still don't get it.
You
I'm
still
going
don't
to be
get
honest.
it? Right.
I'm going to be honest. But I will say that I know my kids watched the things that we did on stream.
Yeah.
Kids I'm talking about watched it. And there's this world that I don't get. Like my kid watching YouTube and watching people play games is beyond me.
Right.
But people like it.
But people really like
Yeah.
it, and it's a different way to engage with it. I mean, you were talking about how like Dragon Magazine has kind of went away and morphed and changed into Dragon Plus. That was the way we engaged when we were kids, was like that kind of media. But now it's not just Saturday morning cartoons; it's cartoons all the time, whenever you want them. So
Right.
I feel like it's the same thing. It's the same It's just the form of the content has changed.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, but you would never, like, as a kid, you would never sit around and watch a game. You'd play.
You'd play, right?
Right? So the idea of, like, watching a game, I don't know, it's funny. But look, we're talking about, my guys and I are talking about maybe doing our version of a Twitch channel game that we're really excited about. And some of the stuff that we've got going on up here today is part of that.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to show it off, for sure.
Yeah, to build it out.
But you also mentioned that you play with a whole bunch of TV show writers and stuff. Yeah,
crazy. They want to do it too.
Nice.
They would love to do it, but none of them have any time. So I play with a series of television writers who are. It's crazy the amount of like sort of success that this group of people has. So Matt Nix, and you can Google all these guys, but it's Elwood Reed, Matt Nix. Dario, and oh my God, we're gonna have to edit this part out. Well, Abraham is our DM.
Abe's the DM? No
Yeah,
way. Oh, that's
it's
cool.
funny. He admitted to me last week. He's like, I make everything up. I'm like, I know, dude. Stop doing that. Like, have a plan.
No, but that's a whole style of Dungeon Master.
I can see his name. Oh God, you're gonna have to edit this out. Can you edit this out?
Of course.
Okay, please,
of course.
because I fucking can't. I'm trying to. He runs The Leftovers. He's now. We're gonna edit it out.
It's all good. It's not. Yeah.
I know, but it's
I was
really
trying to cover
bothered.
for you by like me talking while you were thinking of it, and then you're like, no, wait, let me torture myself a little bit more about this.
It's gonna drive me crazy. All right,
Nice.
But yeah, so we can lead into it. So hold on one sec. Let me just do this.
All right, make it happen. I don't want to leave anybody out, and it's important because it's the leftovers. You don't want to it's kind of almost thematically that you're leaving them out, if that's a thing.
Hey, I'm doing multiple side cards. Hold on one sec.
Sure. How are you guys doing? You doing all right in the Twitches?
Oh, we're twitching?
We're twitching.
Oh, it's live.
It's live. Did I not mention that? We'll edit out when it goes out into the podcast form, but
Okay, good.
Yeah, no worries about that.
Well, hold on a sec. Let me.
They get to see the sausage.
I forgot.
get
By the
made.
way, I forgot that we were twitching.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Maybe they know who runs.
No, I know, but keep going. Let's start again, and then.
Wait, Axis of Anarchy, you're not doing okay? Why not? Why are you not doing all right? Is it because Boo got eaten somehow? Yeah, editing's out. Not so much an option.
No, you guys are seeing all the drama.
Damon Lindelof, Todd Parada, Peter Berg.
No,
any of those? No.
I mean, he's like one of my favorite people in the world. Oh, Somerville, Patrick Somerville.
Patrick Somerville.
By the way, I did not get it from this.
It just popped in your brain from
Somerville.
Patrick Somerville.
How could I not fucking remember that?
Sorry, Ryan. I totally just blew up the mic right there. I saw him go like, go down. It's all good.
Yeah, we're editing except for Twitch. Yeah. Patrick Somerville, who I love to pieces and is awesome.
Yeah.
So let's start again. So you and Twitch is on the inside.
Yeah. You mentioned that you play with a whole bunch of
Yes.
TV writers and producers and showrunners.
Amazing showrunners, super powerful human beings.
So you have 2 weekly games. Is this true?
No, I don't play weekly with those guys. That's like if you can get them together, it's like the A team. Like
right.
You
Okay.
can find
so
them.
The planets align and everything happens.
Yeah.
So who are some of the people?
So it's Matt Nix who's running the new the new X-Men show on Fox.
Oh, cool. Is that not the Legion, but the
the specials or the what is it called?
We're doing it again. We're doing this.
I don't watch TV. It's
the X-Men show.
X-Men show. Yeah,
next.
The new yes, Matt Nix.
Yeah.
And then Elwood Reed, who did The Bridge. I mean, a bunch of these guys came from The Bridge.
Yeah.
So Dario's from The Bridge. Patrick Somerville, who's from The Bridge, who I just forgot his name that we edited out in the podcast. How can you forget Dario from Patrick Somerville?
Yeah.
But he was in Leftovers, and he's doing, and Dario's doing the new Punisher show. So
Nice.
all these guys are great TV writers, and Abraham Ben Ruby is our DM.
That's so cool.
Yeah, they're
and
great.
what kind of a game is that? Like, do you do?
It's funny. Look, I think that all of my games, I think, and what I really respond to in the game is like really high stakes.
Mm-hmm.
That like we take it seriously and like it's really dramatic, and then huge breaks of like really funny shit.
Yeah,
just really funny stuff.
Yeah, because you have to have those highs and lows.
Yeah,
right.
And,
like they both inform each other.
But
like,
it's the great. I mean, look, it's the great thing of in good game. You get like you're engaged. You know, and you're rolling dice and jumping up in success, and you're like high fiving, like you're having an emotional experience when you vanquish the bad guy, and you're like, you magic missile the last thing, and the thing you're like, oh, you're like screaming in exultation, and then you'll go, and then you'll have these moments of like I've never laughed harder than what I do in a game. And I don't know what, like we can sit around and drink a beer or watch a football game, and it's just not the same sort of engagement. You don't have the same kind of emotional connection to the storytelling.
Right. And I've tried to tell people who like don't know about Dungeons and Dragons or what it is, and like describe to them. It's almost like a concert, like a music concert, where like the band is doing one thing and they're like really into what they're doing, and the audience responds, and they have this mixture of like
symbiotic,
of like emotional relationship, right? And I think that's the closest thing I can compare a Dungeons and Dragons game to, because you're all doing this all together. But it's not just a passive like, oh, I'm doing this one thing. It's like everybody is invested in that one role to get the vanquish that bad guy,
and in all aspects too. It's not even in combat. I mean, it's the stuff where you're like, I said to my wife, she's like, what do you guys do or something, and I was like, it was awesome. We got to, we were shopping most of the night.
Yeah.
You're like this whole thing.
Those are my favorite sessions.
Where you have the session where you're like, you're going to meet the crown prince, or you've got some kind of thing, and you've got all these elements to sort of accomplish before you meet at the ball, before you're, so then you're getting robes done, and like, oh, John, I want to do this, and you try to come up with craft. I mean, our whole thing is our game is based around a lot of like crafty moves, like really smart, like it's
intrigue,
funny.
Like trying to like get like
one up, just like John, I'm gonna craft a letter to the, I'm gonna do something that's a little outside the box. Like I have this this warlock who I'm playing right now that I don't love, because it's like you get 2 spells, and there's like these. You're not doing a lot. You're like snipering with this, Eldritch.
But it's really thematic at the same time,
but
right?
So I did take major image, and like you're so now all of a sudden you're crafting images to like make a difference.
Yeah,
like I'm a big fan of, in our game, we're big fans of like doing cool moves rather than just like fireball, wand. I mean, it's like, I want to do like, John, I'm gonna meld into stone, and then I'll pop out as. It's just weird sort of creativity in the gaming itself. So like in that preamble before you meet the Duke or whatever we're talking about, like doing things that are like, I'm going to go into this, I'm going to find the finest wine I can find in town. I'm going to present it to,
Right, so, and then the whole conversation, you'd be talking to the wine guy, and then find the right
and you'd
thing.
be like, what, or what, then you'll go and you'll present it. Like whatever. That's the kind of storytelling that, every now and then you like fighting the big bad dragon.
Yeah. I'm on board with that. What do you ever find like the people who are creatives in Hollywood? Like, do they feel like they are using their muscles in a different new way? Is it like that, or is it separate?
Look, my guys are like all the guys I play with. For these 26, 27 years are guys that went to acting school, so they all have that sort of. That gene anyway, that performance sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the guys I play with in that group, with Patrick Somerville, I can't believe Matt Nix, and those guys. They're also incredible storytellers, and they create these like fully rounded out characters that have great backstory and have a real sense of character and the things they're doing. And look, and they're funny. I mean, Matt Nix is hilarious. Elwood Reed's hilarious. Abraham Ben Ruby's a great DM, big voice, and like plays with like energy, and so this whole thing is it's both my games I'm really proud of, and I love them.
Neat. Yeah. That's cool stuff. I love Abe because of Parker Lewis Can't Lose. That was like my like thing to him, and when you mentioned that you played with him, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe Kubiak is going to be coming here.
He's the only man on earth that can hug me like a child. Because I'm 6'4", he's 6'7".
Yeah,
and he's like a solid 320. He's like 300 pounds.
He's a frost giant of a man.
Envelop is that the right? Envelop you in his arms and like hold you, and I like. It's my favorite thing to like literally go like this and just put my hand on his chest as he holds me like a baby. Does
he do that as a dungeon master sometimes?
Do not get jealous. There's still time for us.
It'll happen.
You can't hold me like he can, but you have other attributes.
That beard,
beautiful beard,
envelop your face as much as it can.
Handsome eyes. Yeah, but he's awesome.
That is cool stuff. So yeah, you mentioned what you're doing now, but you just came off of Twin Peaks, and all that. Twin Peaks, sure. How was that? What was that like working with David
Crazy.
Lynch?
It was great. He's you're working with somebody that's sort of an iconic figure.
Yeah.
And, you get a sense of that. You understand that, it's a special look. In shooting that show, you realize you're on something that people are going to watch.
Right.
That people, especially that the followers of those peakers, the Twin Peakers, like those people.
Is that what they're called?
I just named them that. I think I just named them tweakers.
It's kind of like tweakers. Tweakers, peakers.
Tweakers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But there's a whole world of people that are in love with him, that story, the way he tells stories, the way he makes shows, the way he makes movies.
Are you in love with?
I am not. It's not my jam.
Yeah, it's not mine either. No, okay, good. All right, that makes a lot of sense to me because
I love him.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what he does.
Right.
And I think he is iconic, and I think that he is remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
I did not catch Twin Peaks the first time I came around. I like his movies, but the Twin Peaks of it all, it's just I never was when it came out the first time. I was 21 in New York City.
Yeah.
I didn't watch TV.
Right.
I never went back to find it. I did the show. I didn't have a sense of the show going in because you only get your lines. So it's not like I'm reading like this is amazing.
You don't get the whole script.
You get only what you say.
Really?
And the person across from you.
Is that like meant to like keep mystery?
I don't know. I mean, you sort of have to ask him.
Yeah.
There was this level of security around that show that was sort of like being on a Star Wars.
Yeah.
You are not given sides. You are giving your script back at the end of shooting. Like there's like a whole protocol in shooting that show.
Yeah.
You don't know who's on set with you until you get there that day. Like you're only given your call time. So there is this level of secrecy I've never seen before.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's because of secrecy or because he just doesn't really want you to use sort of your artificial or your artistic intellectual sort of side of yourself to add to that moment. He
like
just
add
wants
a context
you to be in the
that's
moment.
not there.
Yeah,
like
he's like, if I read a script, and I know I'm the bad guy, on page 10, I know I'm the bad guy. Well, it's going to sort of influence how you play the part. And you don't have that in this.
Yeah. I mean, that's I'm like you in that I don't really get it, and I brought it up in the context of a D&D conversation because the mind will take disparate details and put a story together all the time. Like that's what Dungeons and Dragons is really all about. Like you roll random crap and you're like, all right, well now that's part of the story.
As long as I beat you.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Oh, nice. What did you get?
These two. I got a 2.
Oh, 4 beats 2. Nice. Out the door. But like, I feel like especially gamers are used to taking stuff that doesn't make any sense and make sense of it.
Sure.
Right. And
buy in. I mean, you have that sort of suspension of disbelief.
Right. And I feel like with Lynch's stuff, I want to make sense of it. I try so hard to be like, oh, there's the thread of the story and things like. And I'm not necessarily thinking about Twin Peaks, more of Lost Highway and and those movies. But I was always like, man, I don't get it. I tried. I'm like, this better pay off. This better, like, I better be able to come up with a story at the end of this, and I just can't.
Well, look.
So I'm always like trying to think, like, what is it about those things that entice people? And I think it is because they like that exercise of making a story up that may be there, may not be there. They're taking those details and making it up in their head.
I mean, look, there are people that like that lucid dreaming state in the way he makes TV, and I love awesome. I respect it. I sort of love that he was given. I mean, I think that Showtime was remarkable in giving him 18 episodes to do whatever he wanted.
Right.
It's like talking about, complete freedom to just deliver what he wants.
Yeah,
which
be
is
an auteur and
remarkable to
make what
do.
you want to make, right?
And I think that he did exactly what he wanted to do.
That's cool.
I appreciate it. I love him. I think he's an awesome person.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know him that well, but I sort of love what he does, and I
Yeah.
sort of love that he's creating what he believes in, and he is an auteur, and he is doing what he is coming from him.
Right.
It all makes sense to him. Every single element of that show, and I know this to be the case, is completely. It's multi-layered. It's there for a reason. There are no arbitrary cuts or mistakes.
Yeah.
It's all built, and I so appreciate that and respect that.
That is good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost wish more Dungeon Masters were that way.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's, I think
There's something
that's, again, going back to what we're talking about up here in Seattle, I mean, I think it's hard. I think that the constraints of time and energy and effort in today's day and age is hard to step aside from all the things that are going on to create a campaign that's remarkable.
Yeah, for sure. So what's exciting about your new project, The Good Girls? What's going on with that?
Look, I think that first of all, I have a job. I like being on a job. I mean, it's my favorite thing to do is,
right. And you mentioned you've had lulls and ups
Sure,
and downs,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
and that's
for sure.
super. I mean, I was a freelancer for a long time in New York, and that was terrifying.
Yeah,
but
it's
not
hard.
at the scale that you're talking about, where it's like, oh, yeah, I've got this, and
Yeah.
then I've got nothing, and so that's got to be great to be like, all right, you feel like your wind is in your sails again as far as getting work.
100%.
Yeah.
Work begets work. And look, in our job, I think one of the things, and I talk about this a lot, and I believe in talking about it. Look, our job, we do not get paid what people out there in the world think we get paid all the time.
Yeah.
If you're Tom Cruise, you can make a lot of money. Yes. If you're number one on the call sheet, you're definitely in the 1%. And I get paid great when I work. But if you don't work, I mean, I've worked for 1 week this year. 1 week. That I made great money for that week.
Yeah.
But I've worked 1 week. It's the 9th month.
Yeah.
I know, I do Scooby-Doo all the time. So I do the voice of Shaggy all the time. So I'm in cartoons. I have a day job. It's awesome. But when you work for 1 week in a year, it's a tough run, dude.
That is really
That's
tough.
a tough run.
Right.
So
Does the SAG like insurance and all that go into
I'm hitting that, no problem. I mean, I got that. My insurance is good. And look, I make good money at Scooby-Doo. I can live off Scooby-Doo money.
Nice.
Not
that's good. Not everybody's got that.
No, and it's also I'm not flying in a plane, but we can get by.
Right.
Worst case scenario, we can get by.
Yeah.
So that's nice. And I love my job, and I love that job because of that reason. But, we don't make a lot of money. So when you have a job like this, all of a sudden you can kind of take a breath. You can pay your credit cards off. You can kind of recalibrate and catch up.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. So it's good. And my wife also works, and she's great, and she's a freelancer. So together we are on this sort of crazy journey of success when it comes. It's great.
Right. What does she do?
Real estate.
Real estate. All right. So that is a big
Yeah.
boom and
so
bust
you're
type situation.
You have, you don't work from October to January because nobody's selling a house in that time of year. So.
Right.
And nobody, as an actor, you're generally not making money at that time of year. So you're like, this is the worst 4 months ever. And Christmas is in the middle of it with children. You're like, oh.
And you're like, guys, you're getting ramen for
Merry Christmas.
Well, that's cool. Well, so the NBC show, can you talk more about what it is?
It's called Good Girls.
Yeah.
It's Retta from Community and Mae Whitman from Parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
And Christina Hendricks from Mad Men.
Oh, she was man.
Yeah, it was just
fantastic.
Great. And then me and Reno I just met these guys yesterday. Reno Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
Reno. Is in it. Sorry, I'm terrible with names today.
I know.
Like
I'm putting you on the
days,
spot.
like I'm 47 years old and shit is slipping. I want you to know I am not nearly as together as I used to be, and I'm like, and names are terrible. So, anyways, but the show's about 3 women pushed to their extremes and sort of take matters into their own hand, and it's like a Breaking Bad meets Thelma and Louise. Women are like taking back their sort of power.
Sweet.
And I play Christina Hendricks' husband, and I'm not a good guy. I'm a bad guy.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm always a bad guy. I promise you, I am like I think I'm like just about the nicest guy in the world. Just about. And
the most modest.
I mean, but there's like me. It's like Santa Claus and then me. I mean, I'm right there, dude.
Right.
In terms of nice guys.
Yeah, and then Krampus is right underneath that.
And I play this guy who's like a jerk.
And yet that your career has kind of shifted that way to doing like, hey,
and always these bad guys.
Yeah.
I was on Bosch. I'm a bad guy.
Right.
I'm a bad guy in breaking on Halt and Catch Fire. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. I wonder if just with age you kind of like become more of the
more
older guy
haggard
instead of
and
like the
angry.
hey, I'm the young
Get
kid.
off my lawn, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. So I'd be remiss of not mentioning SLC Punk. My brother loved that movie when we were kids growing up. Was that like your first like big breaky kind of thing?
No, that was after Scream.
Yeah.
Scream was pretty big.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I did see that.
The Scream movies up
Yeah.
there. I mean, it's up there. My first movie was a movie called Serial Mom with John Waters.
So
I've
you
been
worked with
lucky.
John Waters too.
Yeah, he
That's
was awesome.
insane.
I've worked with a lot of really cool directors.
Yeah.
Alexander Payne and The Descendants.
Yeah.
But yeah, SLC Punk is my favorite movie I've ever done, bar none.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Why is that?
Well, a lot of reasons. One, it was I was in the whole thing. Like it's my movie. Like other movies, you're like Freddie Prinze's best friend. I'm like, okay, that's a good job. It's a good job. It's a good job. But to be in like every frame is way cooler than to be the guy on the bench.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I like being in every frame. I like the fact that, look, it's about this little punk rock disenfranchised kid trying to find his way. I like the work I do in it. I think it's fun, and I haven't seen it in a long time, but I feel like it's, it's good work at that age for the kid I was then.
Right.
So I'm proud of the work. And then I like the fact that I'll walk down the street and, if I have 10 people come up to me in the course of a day and say, "Wow, you're that guy. I love you in that thing," I'll say 4 of them will say Scream, and 2 of them will say Scooby Doo, and 3 of them will say something random. But a big chunk of it is I'll have people come up and say, "SLC Punk changed my life." And you'll have those kids that have connection to that movie. It's one thing to be in a movie like Scooby Doo, but a movie like SLC Punk changed kids' lives. And to me, it's super powerful. And I'll do these cons, and I'll sign autographs. And I've got a couple SLC Punk pictures. And you'll have this kid who's got green hair, or who's gay and is a cutter, or is obese. And they'll be like, "Dude, that movie helped me get through a hard time." Yeah. And you're like, you hug them, and you're like, "I get it. I get it."
That's cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's a powerful movie for a kid that needs that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love it. I mean, and then I did a movie called Fat Kid Rules the World, which is a movie I directed here in Seattle about an obese teenager that finds punk rock music and becomes and the power of drumming. And so I love that movie. So those are my 2 favorites.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were a director as well.
Yeah, I'd rather direct than if I could direct the rest of my life and never act again. I would happily accept.
No way.
It. Oh yeah.
What about a Dungeons and Dragons movie? Would you direct that?
I would do
to FXE or
No, I love it. I mean, look, people keep trying. Right?
Yeah.
They see this IP, this intellectual property, like, wow, there's a lot of people that play D&D. Let's make that movie. And I just think that every time they try to make that movie, they miss the point. And I think it's a hard movie to make.
Yeah.
I've thought a lot about it. I don't know how you make it. It's hard to sort of capture the magic that hangs around that table.
Right. We talked about well, obviously a lot in this office of like, hey, what is it? Is it the gaming? Is it the getting together with friends and going forward? Is it like a back and forth between what's real and what's not? Is it just the stories of Dungeons and Dragons? Like, is that what people want? So yeah, you're right. It's a hard nut to crack as getting it. And I think honestly, the property that's done it the best so far is Stranger Things, where like it nailed that idea of what Dungeons and Dragons was in a dramatic story. That had a lot of elements of D&D in there. Like, I mean, like the teen, did you seen that?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The teenagers, when they find out there's a monster, they're like, let's kill it. Let's get all the tools and we need to kill that monster. And I'm like, that to me was Dungeons and Dragons more than, the Dungeons and Dragons movie was.
That show is remarkable in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you. And I think that, look, and it's funny, I started watching Game of Thrones. Is anyone still listening? We've been talking for like 2 hours.
There's a lot of
anyone on Twitch?
These two are enthralled. Look at them.
They're not. I mean, dude, Pelham's asleep. Look at him. He can't even keep his eyes
That's
open.
because he's working nonstop. He's always working.
I'm so sorry. There's like 9 people on Twitch. This sucks. What are the comments? You're a loser, Shaggy.
No,
suck
they're here.
it, dude.
They're all saying we're here. We're all here. Hanselman, what's up, dude?
Yeah,
I met him in Providence.
Don't call him out. They're like, I hate Lillard.
Go home, Lillard.
Where's Freddie?
Do you still hang out with Freddie Prinze
No,
Jr.?
I do. He's on sports radio now.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's doing sports radio in L.A. He's great. I don't see him ever.
No, you're not his wingmate, as in wing commander.
I have one Hollywood friend. His name's Abraham Ben-Ruby. I have a lot of people I love. Like I love Dax Shepard. I love Seth Green. I like everyone I've ever worked with. There are 3 people in my life that will go out of my way to talk smack about, if asked. If like, what do you think of so and so? I'll be like, ooh, that person's not a good person.
Ooh.
But in
that was a big opening that I'm not going to take.
Well, I would never in a million years. But there's in 27 years, 26 years I've been acting.
Yeah.
28 years or something ridiculous. I have 3 people that I would like, you know what? That's not a good person.
Oh. That's actually a pretty good run for that
awesome,
long, right? Because you hear
that,
so many stories about how Hollywood is, people backstab you, blah, blah, blah. But like, that's pretty great.
I think it's all garbage. I mean, I'm sure that happens. That's not in my universe. If people are mean or rude, that's not my life.
Yeah.
I live very much outside of that bubble. I'm I think I'm a normal dude.
Right.
And when I go to work, I like work. I'm happy at work. If somebody's having a hard time, I try to see through that hard time. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of insecurity. And my whole thing is like, if I'm light and can act in lightness, and if I can bring joy and energy to a set, a lot of times people's other like dour fear base gets sucked out of the room. So my whole thing is, if you can bring love into a situation, if you can bring joy, a lot of times people would rather do that than to be negative and lost.
That's cool. That's a good way to bring it, man. You have the right energy about it.
But I was going back. So Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
When I first started watching Game of Thrones, I thought the first season, I was like, oh my God, the lighting's so bad. Everyone looks so pretty. Their teeth are perfect. Like you've got smudge makeup on. I was like, I had a really hard time of getting out of the sort of actor take on that production the first year.
Yeah.
But I tried multiple times, and I love the books, and I tried multiple times to get into it. At some point on a flight somewhere, I was like, I'll try one last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of got through that first season, and second season started, and that show became the sort of quintessential fantasy show for me, and the work that they're doing and the dragons and the sort of magic of it and the authenticity. I don't know. I really loaded into that show.
Nice.
And you need that sort of level of production. You need that sort of commitment of money and time and energy and storytelling.
Yeah.
For a D&D movie. And I think that's hard to sort of, before, I don't think that people ever really understood, and I still don't think they really understand the power of this game, the power of the people that play it, the sort of depth of respect for what we have in this, in this space, in this genre. And I think that continually Hollywood underestimates our buying power and who we are as like a movement. And you start to see it. I mean, the Nerdist, like you start to see the Seth Greens of the world sort of rise up in this nerd power. There's like this 2.0 of nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And like people are like, oh, and they're starting to understand like Comic-Con is built around this, and the Marvel movies are all built around this sort of this industry of fantasy. Yeah. And we're starting to sort of like get like a shred of respect as like a buying public.
Yeah.
And so, as soon as they respect us as actual connoisseurs and a movement, then they'll start making legitimate movies for us, legitimate TV shows, taking this intellectual property and really doing it in a way that it deserves.
Cool. I think that's the best pitch I've
We need to
ever
rise
heard.
up.
Rise up.
Rise up.
Yeah.
People. No, I mean, like, I do. I believe
And it has been happening over the last, 15 years, really. I mean, like since Lord of the Rings, like really, and Harry Potter and all these movies and properties that have continued to show that power that you're talking about. Even just like the rebirth of Star Wars, like they were able to be like, oh yeah, no, by the way, people really do like Star Wars, even though they might not like those 3 movies. Like it's getting back into that, and I think with Marvel's success and all these things, like it's primed. Like everybody's ready.
Do you feel that walking around this office?
That
D&D. Well, that D&D is like.
Oh yeah,
on the rise. I mean, is it on
sure.
the rise? Do you think the brand is on the rise?
Oh yeah. I mean, we've said it to a bunch of press, but like it is more popular now than we think it has ever been.
Right.
We think more people are actively playing now. More people are getting into the books for the first time. A lot of that comes from women playing.
Sure.
Like
younger,
right. People of color, people with different backgrounds. Like,
do you think that that's because of the development of the gaming system is easier now? What do you think? Or
I
do
think
you
there's a couple
it's
of
just
prongs.
this rise of?
I think there's a couple of prongs. I think one of them is the one you're talking about, where like there's a lot more D&D-esque properties acceptance out in the world. The 5th edition rule set itself is way easy to get into for new players, while also serving people who played a really long time. So like
I think it's so good.
Yeah. It's a masterful stroke of being able to, like Mike Merles, Jeremy Crawford, that whole team of being able to put together this thing that feels really familiar but can also feel really new and fresh at the same time. That is a big part of it. And then also the streaming. Being able to see other people like you playing is a big part of it, because you can read a book, you can read a script of, and the old DMG used to have this, where it was like, here's how you play, and it had like a script, right?
Sure.
And that got it across not that great. You didn't really understand how the game worked until you played it. Right. And streaming still isn't the same as you playing, but it gets farther along. You get to be like, oh, I see what that person is doing. I see how that works. Understand what the dungeon master does. And I think that is the third prong of why people are like, oh my gosh, this is the game for me.
I think I said this to you on the streets of Seattle after streams of Annihilation, but I said, we're going to be at this in like 10 years.
Yeah.
And you're going to remember how cute and charming the first one was.
Yeah.
Because I do think that there is this rise of Twitch. Big shout out to Twitch and all the people.
Twitch it up.
Yay. They're like, we don't care.
Look, they're all talking. That's what's amazing. Like, they're constantly being like, oh, and they're sharing their stories all in here. It's amazing.
Who wants me to strip?
No one. They're all like, no.
Come on, tell me, how many people? How many people? We get 10,000 likes. I will show you my everything.
If everybody in the chat subscribes right now, we're both going to put our pants back on, because they've been off this whole time and you haven't even known it. They're all like, no. All right, there's a do it.
Come on.
Someone who says do
Who
it.
said no?
Electric Pencil said no.
I'm going to find you, Pencil. I'm going to find you in the world.
Oh, man. Well, this has been really good talking to you.
We're done. I'm not leaving, dude. I'm here forever.
Dude, we've been talking
Roll a niche.
We've been talking for like 90
I
minutes.
have a 4 decks. Plus 4. It's a 20.
All right, let's see. Will we end the podcast now?
16.
All right, roll off.
You have a plus 2 decks. 17.
2.
You suck.
All right, well, we'll keep going.
Go 10 more
We'll just keep
hours.
going.
10 more hours.
A lot of people just subscribe, so I think that means you have to start taking it off.
That's the sad. I'm a 47-year-old man who never wants to get naked. It's just not my forte.
No.
I got real gushy bits right through this area
It's
here.
a dad bod situation.
I mean, it's like, remember the 8 minutes like dad bods were rad?
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I'm back.
Finally, the look that I've been curating for 27 years is finally hip.
Here is this body. Bring it.
Well, and anyway, it was good talking to you. I feel like you and I should talk more, like all the time. I think people like this stuff, so let's do it.
I'm down.
Whenever you're not working.
I'm down. I mean, look, I think that we have, we're up here to talk about a potential for ongoing
That's right.
sort of thing. So maybe, who knows? Maybe we maybe I'm up here a lot.
Yeah, and you start rolling some dice on the streams. I think people would like that, right? Twitch people, you think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
All right, thanks. I just put it in the coffee cup.
That's all right. Well, because we got the Noel Zor's marvelous miniatures in here too.
Those minis are awesome.
They're so good. I love them. I love that they like level up. They're like, oh, it's the
First level, second level.
No, right. It's like, oh, here's a dwarf fighter with not so good equipment, and then he has when he's got his ultra equipment, like he's been there for the whole time. So, if you spend
kids, man, they are legit.
It's smart. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Thank you.
We're closing it out. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. What's going on this thing later on today? We got Miss Clicks. I think is not gonna. It's not
a picture of you.
Nice, make it happen while I'm in the middle of talking. They are having a VOD today, and then we got Maze Arcana is happening at 7 p.m. Pacific time tonight with Rudy at the helm tonight. So making it happen. Watch that later on tonight, and we'll be back with more Dragon Talk.
Todd. His name was Todd.
Todd Hedron.
It's the worst name
They
ever.
called him Toad.
It's terrible.
It was a good character. Now I have to pull out that 22nd level ranger and show you how cool it was. All right, you guys are the best. We'll be back later on for more stuff coming at you.